They've cracked it. Now, let's talk about a room found underground near the pyramids. This isn't old news. Back in May 2024, a team of geophysicists was working just outside the Giza pyramids, out on a completely flat and sandy field. They were using ground-penetrating radar, or GPR machines, which send signals underground. These devices can see meters below the surface without digging a hole. It was almost evening, and the team was about to shut down their GPR devices when suddenly, on their computers, a weird wave pattern started to form. They saw that several meters below the ground, there was an L-shaped tunnel. It was about 10 meters long and up to 15 meters wide, but inside it had been filled and sealed with sand and debris. The radar wave patterns clearly showed that the sand inside the L-shape had been added later. Things got serious when the radar detected a hollow cavity beneath that L-shaped tunnel, going another 10 meters down. Think of it as an empty room, a secret room buried under thousands of tons of sand and earth. It happened like this. As soon as the news leaked and hit the internet, conspiracy theorists all around the world started making up stories. Some said it was the Hall of Records, containing all the knowledge and treasure of ancient and lost civilizations. But to understand the truth, you need to know how a GPR machine works. GPR sends radio waves into the ground, and then calculates how long it takes for those waves to bounce back after hitting rocks or empty spaces. When experts closely studied this wave data, they found a very simple yet genius fact. Mom, that weird L shape and empty space was actually a huge dugout trench that was later filled with fine limestone and sand. Archaeologists think that this L-shaped structure was actually a pathway leading down to the real tomb or some special chamber below. In ancient Egypt, when a big official died, these kinds of structures were built over their graves to keep the tombs below safe. The strangest thing about this structure is that it was filled with sand. Maybe the idea was to protect the tomb from thieves, making bandits think that it's just sand, and they couldn't even reach the real tomb. Because this place is right next to the pyramids on the Giza Plateau. Researchers believe that thousands of years ago, when the ancient engineers were building these pyramids, they used this large area as a stone quarry, or as a ramp to haul heavy stones onto the pyramids. Once the pyramid was finished, those brilliant architects cleaned up all the construction traces. They filled that big trench with sand and soil to cover the area around the pyramid. It looked completely flat and beautiful. Giza Plateau is a secret spot where digging physically can damage many precious things. That's why no kind of excavation is allowed here. In August 2023, a team of archaeologists from Nicolaus Copernicus University was digging in a small village called Pin in Poland. They were actually searching for a cemetery where, in ancient times, people who were outcasts from society were buried. During the work, a researcher noticed a tiny skull buried in the soil. At first, it seemed like just an ordinary grave, but as soon as the soil was cleared, and everyone there was shocked, the archaeologists noticed that a child's skeleton was lying in a really strange position. The child's body was buried face down. Back in the day, this was done so that if the dead ever came back to life, instead of climbing up, they'd sink deeper into the ground. The creepiest thing was a padlock attached to the child's feet. That lock was a sign that the door to the world was shut forever for that little soul. This discovery caused a huge sensation worldwide. People started calling it the vampire child. But the real question for the researchers was something else. What exactly did this innocent child do that even after death, their own family chained them up? Archaeologists and forensic experts spent months studying the skeleton. They conducted DNA tests and examined the bone structure. What came out of this investigation was no less than a horror movie. It turned out that in 1600s Poland, there was a vampire panic. People believed that some dead individuals would come back to life and suck the blood of their living family members. They used to drink. If a child acted weird or was sick, the villagers thought he was possessed by a demon. Scientific research later showed that the child wasn't haunted by any evil spirit, but was actually suffering from TB. Because of this, his body became extremely weak and his skin turned yellowish. Back then, there were no microscopes and people didn't know about germs. So they took his pale color and strange appearance as signs of possession. Research also proved that the child's grave, which had been sealed the first time, was reopened again. The villagers were so terrified that they buried him straight away. But when more people in the village started dying, they dug up the grave, flipped the body upside down, and locked his feet to stop the devil from escaping. Right in the middle of the Saudi Arabian desert, there's a lava tube called Jersa, which has grabbed a lot of attention worldwide because of its mysterious structure. A lava tube actually forms when a volcano erupts, and the top layer cools and hardens into rock because of the air, but lava keeps flowing underneath. When the volcanic activity stops, and when all the lava flows away, a hollow tube remains in the middle, kind of like a pipe. Many such lava tubes have been found in Saudi Arabia, but the most famous one is the Jersa tube. Back in 200, geologists started researching it, but the real breakthrough happened recently when researchers from Griffith University and the Max Planck Institute decided to explore its depths. When the investigation team entered the dark tunnels, they came face to face with a scene that blew their minds. There was a pile of human bones, men's, women's, and even children's skulls included. It wasn't just bones. They also found some sharp stones that were probably used as tools. When scientists did radiocarbon dating on the dirt stuck to those bones and stone tools, they were left scratching their heads. Many of those bones turned out to be over 7,000 years old. The investigation also revealed that this lava tube wasn't just a house, but a strategic transit point where ancient shepherds used to move their animals. They used to pass through there to avoid the scorching sun of the desert, and also to stay safe from robbers. The rock art found on the tunnel walls revealed that back then, buffaloes and goats were raised here. This proves that 7,000 years ago, the Arabian Peninsula was much greener than it is today. People lived in these underground tunnels to protect themselves from nomadic robbers and wild animal attacks. What do you think about this? Let me know what you think. Hope you all really like and share this Fact Spark TV video. See you in the next awesome video.